Everyone in our village knew Leonardo. The old man was the best beekeeper in the area. The huge apiary he managed with his wife was located about 5 kilometers from the village. But Mr. Leonardo wasn't famous for that. He was renowned because, at the age of 10, he fought in a partisan detachment. During those times, Leonardo met his future wife, Adelina. The young girl became not only his loyal comrade in arms but also his best friend. After the war, having gone through all the horrors together, their friendship blossomed into a strong, genuine love. As soon as they reached adulthood, they got married. Leonardo and Adelina worked their entire lives on a collective farm, where they were considered some of the best workers. They got interested in beekeeping in the 60s when Mr. Leonardo tried raising bees out of curiosity, but soon he became deeply passionate about it. Gradually, their apiary expanded to 20 hives. A few years after retiring, Mr. Leonardo bought a small farmstead not far from our village. The farmstead was isolated, on the outskirts. There was a forest nearby, and next to it, a huge blooming meadow. What more could you want to set up a few dozen hives and start your own apiary? Their children had already grown up and left the nest long ago. Leonardo and his wife quickly got their business going. He had helped his father with the bees when he was a child and still remembered everything. So, in his old age, he decided to engage in his beloved hobby, which also brought in some extra money for the household. By the late 80s, people from all around were buying Leonardo's honey, selling it at the market and to acquaintances. The family business brought in quite good money. One day, the beekeeper noticed that someone was raiding his apiary and destroying the hives. He decided he needed to catch and punish the culprit. "So I'll have to sit in ambush for a while," he told his wife. "Well, an ambush it is," she replied. Mr. Leonardo built a shelter in a secluded spot during the day, brought everything necessary there, and as soon as it started to get dark, he went to wait for the intruder. The first night yielded no results. He sat in his hideout, waiting in vain, only to get cold and sleepless. The second night, he sat in ambush again. Near dawn, he started to feel sleepy when suddenly, from the direction of the forest, a small brown spot appeared. It was approaching the apiary. So, his efforts of the past 2 nights weren't in vain. "That's a bear, just a little cub." "Oh, Lord, that's all we needed," thought Mr. Leonardo. Well, it found where it can get a free treat of honey. The beekeeper made some noise, and upon hearing it, the cub ran back to the forest. "We need to come up with something. He'll destroy our whole apiary, and if he brings his mom, it will be even worse." "That's the last thing we need," Mr. Leonardo complained to his wife. They didn't need to discuss it for long. Adelina suggested feeding the cub with honey, hoping he wouldn't cause trouble then. They started leaving pieces of honeycomb for the cub. The little sweet tooth would come periodically to enjoy the honey but wouldn't bother the apiary or destroy the hives. He would lick the clay pot clean of honey, grunt, and munch loudly. Once satisfied, he would leave for the forest, content and full. His mother never appeared. From this, the family concluded that the cub's mother was not around, so he was searching everywhere for food. This continued for a while until autumn came, followed by winter. The cub stopped coming for the treats, probably having gone into hibernation in his den. But in spring, a bear came to their apiary, not a cub anymore, but a young bear. Spring had come early, and by April, the bear had awakened, leaner, grown, and matured. That's how they got Diego, the name they gave the bear. Adelina continued to feed the bear. He grew quickly and became strong on the abundant food. Now he regularly visited the apiary for his treats and acted as its unofficial guardian. The couple stopped being afraid of Diego. He behaved well, taking only what was given to him, without causing trouble. Diplomatic relations were established between the humans and the bear. But then, a new problem arose. The country they had fought for, alongside Adelina, no longer existed. Tough times had come. The elderly but strong couple decided to increase their production even more. They added several dozen more hives to their farm and hired an assistant. But Adelina and Mr. Leonardo trusted the wrong person. Their new worker turned out to be corrupt and tipped off some city racketeers about the elderly beekeepers. Soon, the thugs arrived at the farm in 2 cars. Leonardo greeted them kindly, thinking they were there to buy honey. But the racketeers immediately stated that they would be collecting money from the elderly couple for a small fee each month. They promised to protect their business from real criminals. Mr. Leonardo joked that besides them, he hadn't seen anyone else around. But the extortionists made it clear that the beekeepers had no choice, either pay up or say goodbye to the apiary, which they threatened to burn down along with the bees. The men planned to return in 3 days to collect 6 months' worth of payments in advance. The couple began to think about what to do. Adelina suggested going to the police, but Leonardo understood that they wouldn't be able to do anything. The police wouldn't guard their farm all day to protect them from the thugs. Besides, starting a fire would be easy, just a couple of liters of gasoline and a single matchstick would do the trick. Mr. Leonardo realized they would have to act on their own. They hadn't fought as partisans during the war for nothing. They had a small arsenal of weapons in the house. Mr. Leonardo was an avid hunter, and Adelina had been a good sniper during the war. They decided they could protect themselves and their property. The extortionists arrived in 3 days, as they said they would, but no one came out to meet them. The elderly couple was hiding in the attic with hunting rifles, watching the men. The thugs started calling for the owners and demanding money, threatening to take whatever they liked if they didn't get it, and then come back to collect interest on the debt. But no one responded. Mr. Leonardo already had the gang leader in his sights. The leader then ordered the others to go inside. Then, unexpectedly, help came to the elderly couple from a source they didn't anticipate. Before the thugs could take a few steps toward the house, suddenly from the forest, crashing through bushes and branches, came a furious bear, looking more aggressive than all the thugs combined. He charged towards the farm, destroying all the bushes, young trees, and even the fence, which couldn't withstand his fierce onslaught. Bursting into the yard at full speed, the bear managed to throw one of the thugs aside as he ran. Then he stood up on his hind legs and moved towards the aggressors, his mouth wide open, showing his enormous teeth. Where did all the bravado of the tough guys go? Diego, moving on his hind legs with his fierce mass, advanced on them. The bear shook his head, roared loudly, and snorted, baring his furious fangs. Everyone knows it's useless to run from a bear. If you try, show your back, and you're done for. Out of shock and fear, the intruders froze. Leonardo tackled the gang leader to the ground. The leader found himself face to face with the growling bear, its mouth wide open, emitting loud roars and showing off its enormous yellow fangs. Drool dripped onto the unfortunate bandit's chest. The other gang members scattered in all directions while the bear focused on their leader. Mr. Leonardo and Adelina burst out of the house with weapons in hand. They aimed at the inept robber, then quickly tied him up and locked him in the shed to await the police. The bear paced around the yard for a bit, took a piece of fruit sugar as a treat, and then disappeared into the ravine, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Today, he had saved not only his feeding grounds from being destroyed but also his friends, the beekeepers.